At just 22 years old, Alexander, the ruler of Macedonia, led an audacious invasion of the vast Persian Empire. His campaign quickly turned into a series of triumphs, culminating in the crushing defeat of the Persian forces at the Battle of Gaugamela, after which he claimed the Persian throne for himself. By 330 BC, Alexander was marching eastward, with his sights set on two objectives. First, to find and execute Bessus, a Persian usurper who declared himself the true king, and second, to bring the eastern provinces of the empire under his control. His journey first took him to Arya, modern-day Afghanistan, where the Persian governor Satabarzanez had led a rebellion after initially feigning allegiance to Alexander. The revolt was swiftly quashed, and Satabarzanez was killed in single combat by a Greek cavalry officer. In the area, Alexander founded the city of Alexandria, Ariana, modern Herat, one of several cities he would establish throughout his conquests, nearly all named after himself. As Alexander pushed onward toward Frata, he was reminded of the long history of treachery within the Macedonian court. 6 years earlier, his father, King Philip, had been assassinated by his own bodyguard. Now, Alexander received word from his commander, Philotas, that a plot to assassinate him had been uncovered, one that Philotas had kept secret. Despite his past contributions to Alexander's victories, Philotas was executed after confessing under torture, and his father, the esteemed General Parmenion, was also killed, ensuring no one could challenge Alexander's rule. In 329 BC, Alexander resumed his pursuit of Bessus, founding the city of Alexandria or Kosia, modern Kandahar. Soon, Bessus was betrayed by his own men, handed over in chains, and sent to Persia to face execution as a king-slayer. Alexander continued his advance into modern Tajikistan, where the Sogdian tribes revolted against his rule. Fierce battles ensued, with several towns taken by assault. On the banks of the Jaxartes River, Alexander founded Alexandria Shah, meaning the furthest, as it marked the edge of the Persian Empire. At the frontier, Alexander faced raids from nomadic Scythians. In a decisive battle near the Jaxartes River, he secured a crushing victory that ended the threat. But the ongoing resistance from local tribes, particularly the Bactrians and Sogdians, led to a prolonged guerrilla war that exhausted Alexander and his forces. Many of his soldiers, having been away from home for years, grew disillusioned with the endless campaign. Their frustration deepened when Alexander began adopting Persian customs, including rituals and dress they viewed as decadent and effeminate. Tensions reached a breaking point in Marisanda, where Alexander, in a fit of drunken rage, killed Cletus the Black, a valued general who had once saved his life at the Battle of Granicus. Overcome with remorse, Alexander's actions alienated his men further. His attempt to have them perform the Persian ritual of proskynesis, prostrating before the king, was met with outrage, as Greeks saw only gods as worthy of such reverence. Eventually, Alexander was forced to abandon this practice. In Bactria, another assassination plot was uncovered, this time led by a royal page named Hermolius, whose bitterness towards Alexander led to a conspiracy. After a brutal interrogation, Hermolius and his co-conspirators were executed, while the historian Callisthenes, who had been implicated in the plot, was imprisoned and died in captivity. In 327 BC, Alexander's eyes turned to Roxana, the beautiful daughter of a Bactrian lord. Their marriage was both a political move to stabilize the region and a personal one, cementing his relationship with the local aristocracy. With his position now stronger, Alexander continued his march into India. After crossing the Hindu Kush, Alexander's army engaged the Aspasii and Assassini tribes in a series of skirmishes. Following a brutal siege, Alexander captured the Assassinian capital of Massaga, where legend says the queen Cleophas bore him a son before agreeing to keep her throne. Alexander's next challenge came with the ruler of Taxila, modern-day Islamabad, who formed an alliance with him to face Porus, the king of Parabas, at the Battle of the Hydaspes. The battle was brutal, with Porus's war elephants causing heavy casualties among the Greeks. However, despite the fierce resistance, Alexander's forces triumphed, securing control over the Punjab. Alexander's ambitions stretched further into India, where he sought to reach the river that ancient geographers believed marked the edge of the world. But at the river Hyphasis, his troops, worn out after 8 years of endless campaigning, mutinied. They refused to march any further, fearing more immense armies awaiting them in India. Alexander, unable to push them forward, had no choice but to turn back. The journey back was grueling. Alexander's army followed the rivers of Punjab to the sea, defeating the Malians along the way. During an assault on their capital, Alexander was gravely wounded, but he survived. His forces, under the command of Nearchus, then sailed through the Straits of Hormuz back to Persia, completing one of the great voyages of ancient exploration. Meanwhile, Alexander led the remainder of his army through the harsh Gedrosian desert, enduring extreme conditions that led to heavy casualties. Upon his return to Persia, Alexander took swift action against corrupt viceroys and governors, executing several who had plundered temples and tombs in his absence. In a bid to unite his empire further, Alexander arranged a mass marriage ceremony at Susa, where 80 Macedonian officers married Persian noblewomen, including 2 Persian princesses whom he himself wed. He also paid off the debts of his soldiers and ordered the training of 300 youths from across his empire in the Macedonian military style. Despite his efforts to reconcile with his troops, they mutinied once again at Opis, upset by his growing preference for Persian customs and advisors. After executing the ringleaders, Alexander delivered a stirring speech, leading to an emotional reconciliation. But in the midst of these tensions, a tragedy struck. Hephaestion, his closest friend and confidant, died of fever. Devastated by the loss, Alexander mourned deeply, and public mourning was declared across the empire. Alexander went on to subdue the Kasaans, mountain raiders who had defied even the Persian kings. But his health began to decline, and as he returned to Babylon, he was met with delegations from across the known world, all acknowledging his greatness. Roxana, his Bactrian wife, was pregnant with his child, but Alexander fell ill and died at the age of 32, possibly from malaria, cholera, or even poisoning. His death marked the end of an era. Alexander's empire, which stretched from Greece to Pakistan, was vast but unstable, held together by his sheer genius and leadership. With no clear succession plans, his generals soon fought for control, sparking the wars of the successors. Alexander's widow Roxana and his young son were murdered in the turmoil. His golden sarcophagus, en route to Macedonia, was hijacked and ended up in Alexandria, Egypt, where its location remains a mystery. Alexander's impact on history cannot be overstated. His short but extraordinary life ushered in the Hellenistic Age, spreading Greek culture and ideas across his empire and blending them with local traditions. Some of the successor kingdoms to his empire lasted centuries, but all eventually fell, many to the growing power of Rome. Research and artwork for this video are based on Osprey Publishing's extensive collection of books on ancient history. With over 3,000 titles, Osprey provides in-depth coverage of everything from ancient warfare to modern conflicts. We also extend our gratitude to our Patreon supporters and the Invicta channel for their contributions to this video, which explores key moments from history in their Moments in History.